No photos, no video camera. It was top secret. I think if we would have taken photo or video, they would have arrested us by now. We would have been in jail.
That was for Elon, baby. Where's my Tesla? Is it really gonna hold rockets?
To show you what we're doing with it. Next stop is SpaceX. They could build and send rocket ships to Mars, but they cannot build a skateboard ramp. Welcome to Ramp Tales. This is a story of how OC Ramps was hired by Elon Musk and SpaceX to build some carpenter projects. Follow along for a crazy ride. Let's dive right in. Elon Musk had the idea that they typically build prototypes out of two products, either carbon fiber or stainless steel. They're great materials. The only downfall to those materials is they're very expensive. So what would happen is they'd build a prototype and perhaps realize it wasn't gonna work, and they toss it and they lose 6 figures. So Elon's idea was, hey, let's find a qualified carpenter to build these out of wood first, and then we'll see if we're actually gonna move forward with it. And if we are, then we could build out of stainless steel or carbon fiber. So it's a very smart idea, very cost efficient. Well, back in 2018, we were contacted by our neighbor. We're in Orange County, California, and our neighbor said, hey, I see you guys build skateboard ramps. I'm in the aerospace industry, and I have a project that needs a 20-foot tall half pipe built. I can't tell you who it's for or anything like that. So we exchanged a few emails, phone calls, and then it was later disclosed that the client was SpaceX, and they were sending their big Falcon rocket, which is now called Starship. It's their largest rocket. Ultimately, that's the rocket that's gonna end up going to Mars, taking you and I. And they were building that in Long Beach, and they needed a way to transport that over to Texas, where it would launch. Well, they lay down that rocket into a saddle. They're calling it a saddle, we're calling it a half pipe. So after we find out that it's for SpaceX, they need a 20-foot tall half pipe, AKA saddle. We hit the ground running, preparing and prefabricating everything. They sent us the blueprints, so we're calculating all the cuts, the drills, all that stuff, our CNC cuts. And then we actually assembled the product here in our shop, in our back lot. So we end up building this ramp and then disassembling it so that way we could transport it over to Long Beach and build it on site for them. We wanted to make sure everything was perfect. It had to be to a T, dialed in. Here we are in our warehouse prefabricating all the pieces and parts ready for the installation in Long Beach. We threw it on our trailer, headed north to Long Beach, and we pulled up to the job site. Obviously, we had to go through a crazy amount of security. It was like building for the White House. Super confidential, NDAs out the wazoo. We pretty much signed our life away with blood, and here we are talking about it. So now all of our NDAs have expired, and Elon will allow us to talk about it. I think we're okay. It was an interesting setup. It was not what we expected. It was actually just a giant circus tent, kind of near the ports of Long Beach. And I was expecting just this fancy building, skyscraper. I don't know what I envisioned, but it was not a circus tent. And so we get there, and same thing, I asked the employees, hey, what's this all about? Why do you guys have a tent? They said, hey, Elon had an idea that this huge parking lot was just empty space, and he was able to rent it for pennies on the dollar. They brought in a glorified tent with electricity and all the power that they needed and everything. And it was within the proximity of the ports that they needed to ship everything. This man is smarter than people think. We unload the trailer, we start building. But it was cool because we found out that a handful of these SpaceX employees were once a skateboarder. They skated bowls or vert ramps back in the day. So we told one employee to go get his board out of his car, but he was a little bit shy. The ramp sits 20 feet tall. It was about 8 feet wide. And then from back end to back end, it was about 55 feet, roughly. So it's pretty big. Although we all were hoping to skate it, this saddle was designed for a rocket, not for skateboarding. So the materials we used weren't the same. What was great is when we finished building this, we became friends with a lot of the employees. It was a huge no-no for them to actually show us anything beyond the curtain of what was going on. However, they let us in. And so we were able to go through that tent for a quick 20-second tour. No photos, no video camera. It was top secret to the max. And I think if we would have taken photo or video, they would have arrested us by now. We would have been in jail. We would have been doing this behind bars. That was a really neat experience, and we're really grateful that the employees were super cool and down to earth. And it's interesting that skateboarding will bond everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a rocket scientist, an accountant, a lawyer. Skateboarding brings us together. Never in a million years did I ever imagine us being skateboard ramp and skate park builders to be building something for SpaceX, much less a rocket that's gonna end up going to Mars. I mean, that's pretty insane. And when we think about the fact that I started this business out of the driveway of my garage in the late 90s as just a little punk kid skateboarder, and here we're building for Elon, it's bananas. Never in a million years did we think that would happen. But here we are, we're living the dream. So that project went smooth. It was our goal to do a perfect job and go above and beyond because we wanted to establish a good relationship with them and hopefully land other projects. And that's exactly what happened. We were super excited to get a couple phone calls thereafter for other projects. They were super random. One was a weird hexagon to hold the capsule to a rocket. Another project, they called it the cake layers, and it looked literally like a cake. So after we did all these random projects for them, they decided to come to a site visit. Now this was pretty scary because it was like sending the men in black to your office to investigate what we're capable of, view the warehouse. I mean, essentially they were here to judge us. Let's be real. From their perspective, they just wanted to see what OC Ramps was capable of in terms of workload. How much could they give us? How detailed of projects could they give us? SpaceX knows they can't hire just anybody. They wanted the best. And who do they come to? OC Ramps. So here the day comes that the top executives came to interview us and do a walkthrough tour of our facility. It was the interview of a lifetime. Now when the three of them came in, it was these random top executives. One of the individuals was with Elon from the beginning. And so we gave them a tour, we showed them our skate park. Now you gotta think from their perspective, they've never seen anything like this. They're used to the aerospace industry. They're used to going to warehouses and facilities that they're dealing with carbon fiber, stainless steel, aluminum. They have the world's best engineers, welders. And then there's a skateboard company like us. When we showed them the skate park, I don't think they've ever been to any facility that has a private skate park on their grounds. So we showed them our amazing CNC machines, and we had a great conversation. And from that point on, we became a direct builder for the company SpaceX. It didn't stop there. We actually had one recent project that we're pretty proud of.
Some top secret stuff. I'm making a cradle for some fairing canards, which doesn't sound very cool, but OC Ramps is helping some ships get out into space.
We had an interesting phone call about a year ago. We were on a job site in Arizona, Scottsdale, building for the CrossFit founder. And while I was building this spine ramp, I got a phone call, and it happened to be an employee from SpaceX. And he was an original skateboarder out of Florida, and he said his first job was at a skateboard park. And he had a new set of blueprint plans for some more rocket ship saddles, half pipes. So this one was for a project for Starlink, sending up all those satellites and everything to give everybody the internet. So that way we could all communicate. And it was an interesting conversation. He was super cool, down to earth. And again, being a former skateboarder from Florida. So he calls us, send us these blueprints, we review them, go back and forth. And then we did something very similar. We prefabricated everything in our warehouse. Now these ramps were significantly different than the huge one we did for the Big Falcon rocket. These ramps were considered mini ramps. They were about 4 feet tall. They were only about 2 feet wide. And then from one back end to the other was about 20 feet, give or take. But this time we thought, you know what? We know these are for rockets, but we have to take advantage. And as we were building them, the employees are like, you know what, let's skate this. Bro, this is supposed to go to Mars, so. Oh! Unreal. We were able to skate it and get a couple clips. Chris Mossy, that skates on our team, stopped by. He wanted to get a clip, so we're glad that we at least got some skate footage with these rocket saddles. Somebody had to skate it, and I'm glad it was you, Chris. From there, we loaded on our trailer, drove back to Long Beach, but they did not have their massive circus tent anymore. They were at a different location, and we pulled up to the job site, offloaded these rocket saddles. They were already built, so it didn't require any assembly on site like it did before. So once again, when we pulled up to this facility, the security was pretty gnarly. Through that gate, we saw our point of contact. Well, as soon as he saw the product, it was already assembled. We didn't have to build anything on site. So when we pulled up, we saw him. He takes a look at the 2 saddles that we just built. He was amazed, he was very impressed, and he thought that they were significantly better than the ones that they had done in-house previously. And because of that, because we knocked it out of the park, he said, you know what? I will give you guys a little tour of what we're doing. I was with our filmer Salsa, and he was freaking out. Again, it's wild to think that a bunch of skateboarders, carpenters, whatever you want to call us, are now in the facility of SpaceX, checking out the most advanced technology that the world has ever seen. Man, what an experience. We just delivered the ramps. They loved them. They said it was the best saddles ever. It is an experience that we'll never forget. We are limited with what we could share on this particular project, but it was top secret and it was super cool. We're very grateful for SpaceX. We think that they've been an incredible company to work for, great with communication, and the fact that most of these guys are skaters is also pretty insane, and we hope to do more for them. So Elon, we will see you soon, and we are going to be the ones to build the very first skate park in outer space. Just watch. OC Ramps is coming for you. Peace. If y'all like what you're seeing, smash that subscribe button below to see more content. Go out and skate.